And welcome back to SA Sports Show. You have Greg Anderson and Barry Curtin. Barry, very special guest coming up, Mark Falahey, who, Crayford's boy, and then all of a sudden, doing work with some great sporting events like, the Tour de France and, a bit of the Commonwealth Games as well and the football, and he covers it all. Mark, welcome.
Thanks very much, Greg.
Just another great South Australian story.
It is
really,
a great South Australian story.
People don't know these people. They live up the hills here, and they wouldn't know exactly what Mark does. But that's why we've got you in, because
great to be on the show.
Well, it's great to have you in. It's interesting because in our chat we had a little while ago, you said that you're used to being on the other side of the camera, looking this way.
Well, I'm a video producer and an editor, so I'm used to interviewing people like yourselves, about your careers. So I think it's a hobby that I've got, and I've been managed to turn into a profession as well.
Yours is such an interesting story though, because it wasn't. You've worked with people like Les Murray, Johnny Warren, these guys with the football with SBS. You better tell us how that all started, because that wasn't your original plan. When you went to uni, you didn't go there to be a producer of.
No,
tell us how it all started.
I mean, it's hard to know when you leave school what you want to do, isn't it? So I pursued a career in wine marketing. My father was fond of in the wine industry and fond of sales. So I did a vintage in Bordeaux. I've done that, and I thought it's not quite for me. It's not quite creative. It's straight down the line, pretty much in the wine game. So I just wanted to do something creative and work in television.
One of the biggest sporting events is Tour de France. You've done 15 of them now. How'd that come about? Great opportunity.
Well, Des Flavel was an icon in television in South Australia. He got me a job at Channel 9, and I had a great time there, but I was really attracted to the European sports, in particular SBS, what they were showing. So there was the World Cup, FIFA World Cup, soccer, and also the Tour de France. And to work with a guy like Phil Liggett was a dream come true. So I went to SBS, and I got an opportunity to go over to the Tour de France, and 15 years ago, and I haven't looked back since. You
would have met a lot of interviewers in your time. We'll just go back to Phil Liggett, the best in the business. What a voice,
Phil's got an amazing ability to paint a picture about anything. He could talk about the greyhound race down at Angle Park, state, and he would paint a beautiful picture. He's like Bruce McAvaney. Yeah. And he's got a wonderful voice, melodic voice, but he's a great person to work with.
When you say you walked into SBS, you went to SBS because you like what they were doing. Yep. You don't just walk into SBS and go, right, I'm going now to the World Cup of Soccer. Well, how does all that happen?
It helps in life to have a niche, doesn't it? I mean, you're a sportsman. Your niche is football. My niche is cycling. So I'm sort of a student. Yeah, I'm like almost a student of it. I mean, I've watched it for years on the internet and on Wilder Sports, and I just went to them and say, look, I want to work on this product. Okay. It's a fantastic event, and they took me up there.
But you still do a lot with football. I think you were saying you do a little bit with Channel 7, if I'm correct, and a bit of Foxtel as well.
That's right. Yeah. The Tour de France is 1 month of the year. That's July. I look and I embrace it like it's a 12-month job, but in fact, I live in Adelaide and I've got to take on other work while I'm here. So I get to work I work on the AFL every weekend for Fox and 7 as an editor, and I'll go to the Olympics as well. I was in Rio and also in the Gold Coast with the Commonwealth Games.
Wow. Now that's getting involved in sport, isn't it? And they're massive sports as well. You're talking about World Cup of Soccer, you talk Tour de France or Commonwealth Games, you don't get any bigger, really. Well, Olympics, of course.
It's fantastic. It's not a job, but for me it's a hobby. I mean, it's obviously important to be passionate about what you do.
So if you're at the Olympic Games, what sports would you like to cover? I mean, cover lots of sports. You go to the Olympics, and which one would you like to cover?
Well, the Olympics. I mean, they're all the athletes are at the top of their game. Yeah. So I think the track and field's amazing, and swimming also. We've got a big attachment to that, and I've also grown fond of football, European football now as well.
Yeah, it's the greatest thing you've seen. What's the greatest achievement in sport that you would have seen in those years?
Well, for me, You know, the highlight of the year is the Tour de France, the final stage in Paris,
Yep.
when you get to see the winner of the most grueling sporting event in the world arrive and celebrate on the Champs-Élysées. That's for me, that's number one.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
And
taken
Cadel
a lot of-
Evans probably was the highlight in 2011. He was the first Australian to win the Tour de France. Yeah.
It's taken a lot of flack, hasn't it, the Tour? It's taken a lot of flack, and quite rightly so. I mean, there's been a lot of problems with the Tour. Do you see that when you're there? Are you aware of all that going on while you're at?
Well, the flack, I mean, is obviously the doping.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the world's hardest sporting event. It's 21 days covering 3,500 kilometres around France, and over the most toughest terrain you can imagine.
Yeah.
So to recover day after day from that event, they push science, and sometimes they push it a little bit too far.
And on that aspect as well, how hard and how much do you have to push it as being a producer? I mean, like we're talking, lots of world's best cyclists,
Well,
world's best teams.
I mean, we follow the race obviously, and we jump to the finish
a lot of
point.
preparation as well, I'm sure.
So we drive 7,000 kilometres in 3.5 weeks.
Wow.
But it's a beautiful event because the country has so much to offer. You're not parked in a stadium like you are at the Adelaide Oval underneath in the loading dock. We're going to the tops of mountains to see the race finish. You eat the local food,
Drink the local wine.
and local
the
wine.
local wine.
It's a bit of a torture test for us. So you don't get too carried away with the wines, but it's always important for us that we get together as a group, as a team at the end of the day, and just pinch ourselves.
Because the
and where we're at.
broadcasting is superb, and the work that you must do for editing and getting everything sort of ready to go to air, live to air. There must be a lot of time in that aspect as well.
We have France Television to thank for the broadcast. So we just we take their broadcast and we add on the Australian angle. So there's normally half a dozen riders over there from Australia. So we interview them and put them into as add-ons to the broadcast.
We're not huge in the sport, as you said. We've got half a dozen riders. I would say that we wouldn't have a lot representing, especially from Adelaide, SBS crew. So do they question how did a boy from Crafers get all the way here, and you're putting this live to air for the world to watch?
Well, maybe 20 years ago they would have, but now you can live anywhere in the world and and do what you want to do really. I'm in constant contact with them. Through the internet we share content and ideas, and obviously I speak to them regularly. So it doesn't really matter where you live.
Somebody very famous said once that find your obsession, make it your profession. You'll never work a day in your life. That's you.
Well, that's right, and you've got to put a lot of effort in behind the scenes. A lot of stuff you don't get paid for, and research is everything really, and planning ahead. So when the last stage finishes in Paris, 364 days later, I'm looking forward to that day when
is that right?
you get going again. So
just for the wine, just for the wine.
so any youngsters watching, I just suggest do what makes her happy, and so it makes me happy.
Oh, Mark, thank you so much for coming in, and what a success story. We always hear so much about sports on the field, but how successful you've been, for sports on the other side of the camera.
Thanks,
Absolutely
Greg, Barry.
fantastic. Thank you very
Cheers,
much.
Pleasure to see you. Thank you, mate.
We're back after the break. Thank you.